My hair feels a bit bad, like it's a bit worn out from the day.
Looks weird.
Does it look weird?
Yeah.
Should I put a hat on?
No.
Should I put a Byron cap on?
No.
You're an arsehole. You're an arsehole.
Hello and welcome everybody to the latest edition of Midweek Matters. Charlie is just checking out his hairdo because it's a bit... The day's got full effect.
It's a hot day today, and that's not true as well. You're just trying to take the audience attention away because we've got some very, very big news.
Well, hang on a minute. You just, before we started, you were like, should I get a hat? Should I put a hat on? Does it look that bad?
No,
and then you're about to look at yourself in the camera because you don't have a mirror and to check on how it was. But then I got in first and started, and you didn't want to rush up and go and get a hat. But Charlie,
that's not true. I just wanted to
fine.
get a hat on because we're obviously trying to sell some hats. Thebuyround.com, you can get yourself a great hat. But you said to me that I'm going to get a significant pay deduction if we don't start selling more hats. So I thought that could be a good way to get myself some more money.
Okay.
But let's not worry about that for today's episode. Big news though. If everyone tuning in, if you aren't aware, Jimmy has been cast in the TV show called Plum, based off Brendan Cowell's book Plum, which was very successful. He's a very great man, Brendan Cowell, and I've been talking to him during the week, and I've got a filming date that you're going to be on set, March 15th.
Hey, let's just cut that out, Tone. Like, we don't need to be telling the world that.
Well, what date you're doing a filming shoot? Why would they care?
It doesn't matter.
March 15th is the date, and basically we've been given the approval from Brendan Cowell, the creator, and he said, we're more than welcome to come shoot you behind the scenes backstage. So big news for anyone who wants to see what it's like on set, on a rugby league set, and see how Jimmy's set. Well, it's a rugby league TV show. See how your acting debut goes. I'm really looking forward to it.
I bet you are. Can I just tell you something, Charlie?
Yeah.
You're a shithouse.
Why is that?
Because doing this, like, what?
But Brendan Cowell, he's a close friend of mine.
No, he's not.
He's a close friend of mine. And me and him discuss, the opportunities. It's great for Plum, free marketing.
Great for Plum.
And it's great for us as well to get an insight into your process as an actor, because we haven't seen you act before.
Well,
but
nobody has.
No.
Well, you know what? You have seen me act. Do you know the friendly face I put on? It's all...
It's all
to just use you to get a job.
But you know what? It's funny. It's funny because
you got to keep you buttered up the right way. But, hey, Charlie.
Yeah, he's this wanker again.
So you've seen me act.
But just so you know, this is a big moment in your career, because who knows where this could go?
Who knows?
You could really take this and move it forward as an actor if that's what you want to do.
Great to have that option.
Yeah, but then we're gonna have that behind the scenes footage of James Graham, the actor.
Maybe in 20 years I'll be doing an interview if interviews are still around. But, oh man, I used to have this podcast. The Byround.
Yeah. Can't even remember those folks' names.
Tony was producing.
Yeah.
Charlie, Midweek Matters. Oh, or someone shows, do you remember this? It's
yep.
Or you'll be there do you remember me? Can you get me into the Oscars? No, Charlie, get out.
But I will say this, we're allowed to get footage of you in the makeup chair, you in the dressing room, all access, all areas. It's going to be great. Looking forward to it.
I can't wait. I
loved your interview with Matt Lodge as well.
Thank you.
By the way.
Yeah, you went on set for that, but it was very emotional.
Yeah.
I personally learnt a lot about Matt Lodge as well. Like every guest we have on, I do my fair share of study, look into their life, and there was a lot about Matt Lodge that he told us for the very first time and cleared up some misunderstandings. I guess I hope that shone through in the interview. Obviously, tend not to read the comments, but I read a few overwhelmingly positive, a few that don't particularly... Yeah, I'm never going to forgive him. And you know what? It's interesting. That's what Matt Lodge said about the three types of people.
Yep.
He said that there's three types of people, and he's accepted that. Personally, I found the chat fascinating. And look, I'm not going to paint myself as some form of saint. I've made plenty of mistakes in my life. Like Matt said, you learn from those and you move on. I think, he was punished by a judge in court. They didn't send him to jail. He paid his fines. He did his time. Now, if you look at anybody that's, commits a crime, they're punished by law, like Matt was, but then usually they're integrated back into society. Now, obviously, with professional sport, that's a different beast, and I understand why you can't just jump straight back into it necessarily. But he didn't. He had to earn that, and I don't know if people, want to see him punished by the law and then punished by the game forever at 21, at the age of 21. Personally, for what happened, I don't think that punishment fits the crime. Obviously, there are some crimes that are completely unacceptable, and there is no coming back from, despite age. But I think in this particular case, I think it was obviously a very delicate situation at the time, but I'm glad that he's back playing, and I think he deserves his opportunity to play, contribute to the community, which he is doing as well.
And he's probably going to be back at sort of around round 5, round 6, so that'll be a big boost for Manly.
Huge
in the middle there.
Manly.
And it's a super interesting chat, whether you like him or don't like him. I think it's fascinating to hear his journey, because it's a very unique journey in rugby league. The path he made to get back in the game as well, I didn't realise how long that process was as well. It's fascinating stuff, but as well.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not your your typical current player or former player. And obviously there's a situation that manifested that's led to that and an event. But it was, personally, I felt, pretty privileged to be sat there and him opening up like he did, because he's not done it before.
He's not done it before. No, it was the first time we've spoken about any of that sort of stuff in media. So I would encourage people to listen to that. And some other news, though. You're going to Las Vegas, aren't you? Signed, sealed, delivered.
Yes, I am, Charlie. Looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it.
With the NRL?
Yeah, with the NRL and
bit of Triple M as well.
Triple M there as well, and some buy around stuff maybe.
Of course,
see how we go.
Of course.
That's where.
Do you know what? If I can get over there as well, which is looking quite likely, I just got to sort of sort something out of Triple M, but it's looking very likely. It's a few asses, but it's looking likely. I was thinking, how we are going to do a podcast at the end of it? Should we try to do that in the stands maybe? Like at the end, once it's cleared out a little bit, sit in the stands and just get a shot at like that, film it that way.
Would we not need permission to do that?
Oh, sort of, yeah.
If you can hold the camera steady.
Post game, we'll just put it on a tripod maybe. That's what tripods are for.
I suppose so.
Yeah.
You asked me a few questions.
Yeah,
could do.
Could do. Yeah.
I mean,
just to set the scene a little bit.
We should probably have this conversation after the episode.
True. Let's talk rugby league though, because.
Well, hang on.
Okay, yeah.
Like the NRL going to Vegas. It obviously we saw a couple of celebrities promoting the game over there, and the Super Bowl is actually on as we speak. I think The Rock was involved.
Good get.
Good, very good get. Not quite as good as the Saudi Arabian soccer, though.
What have they done? I've missed this.
If anybody's out there listening, just type in The Undertaker, Saudi Arabia soccer.
Has he done a big promo for them, has he?
Not just a promo, he presented the trophy.
Right.
It is, and not just like...
As Undertaker?
As The Undertaker. They put the music on. It's one of the best things I've ever seen. Like, I used to have, like, the biggest obsession with WWF wrestling. The Undertaker is a bit of a hero. Like, the music goes down. He's walking out, like, full gear. Like, the Undertaker is in Saudi Arabia to sort of, like, not even present this trophy. The teams are lining up at the start. Ronaldo's looking, like, laughing. Like,
Ronaldo's there, wow.
Is like, that's crazy that he's there. But if you look, what I was thinking, it was like, who's been sat round and gone, like,
we'll get
let's look at NRL. They've gone, who can we get? They've got that the former Souths lad that's now at the Philadelphia.
Jordan Mailata.
Yeah, him. So makes sense. Obviously, very popular name over in the States. He's got a knowledge and understanding of our game. Tick, easy.
Yeah.
The Rock. Ooh, mate, if we can get him, that'd be great.
Big name. Played a bit of American football in college for Miami, University of Miami, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. But then, okay, that all makes sense. Group of executives. Yeah, here's some things to aim for. Russell Crowe, let's get him narrating it. Boom. NRL, tick, tick, tick. Well done. Let's go to the Saudi Premier League. Who do you reckon we get for the trophy? Obviously, they're speaking Arabic.
Yeah. Zinedine Zidane?
I don't know. It's a bit obvious, that, isn't it? Like, and we've really got a few legends here. So let's think.
Outside the box.
Let's think outside the, not just
Victoria
outside the
Beckham,
box.
maybe? Sort of connected to football in some regards.
Yeah, but then they're going to see that who's she married to? David Beckham.
Yeah.
American
League.
Into Miami. Ooh, we don't want to be shining the light on them. And she'd probably say no, out of respect for David.
Yeah.
So, like, let's not even think, where could we go for this? What do you reckon?
Wrestling. Popular.
Like UFC. Oh, that's it. No. Oh. No. Stone Cold? No. Oh, The Undertaker.
Love that.
Who in the hell has suggested that for the Saudi Premier League final or whatever it is, they bring in...
Did the lights cut out?
The lights cut out, mate. It's like...
Do you know what, though? Doesn't Saudi Arabia have like a ownership stake in... Did that ever happen? I don't know for wrestling fans. Did they remember they were going to buy WWE? They were going to get involved. Mate, I think they maybe did. Because then Vince McMahon saved his job at the time.
Well, yeah, but you know what, Charlie?
It's still
they're not one for cutting costs. It's not like, hey, part of you, mate, you owe it. Like, hey, Taker, you owe us a favour here. Can you just come and do this trophy thing in Saudi? Like,
fuck, you must have got a bit for that.
I'd love to know how much you got for
I reckon it's in the millions.
Do you reckon?
Yeah. Fly them out to Saudi
But,
Arabia.
mate,
They've got money's no object for them as well.
Right, say if you're the Undertaker, you sat at home and you go and you get this phone call or an email, you'd be like, is this taking the piss? So you either go, is it taking the piss? I'll say I'll have $1 million. But also, you've also got to have that little bit of like self-awareness that if they're coming for you, like they've probably got a set price and someone else will take it. So you're nervous and going like, say if they offered like, I don't know, say like 10,000 US.
He's not taking that.
Well, but hang on a minute. He's got to go, well, if I say no, they'll just go to Gold Dust.
Or Finley.
Who's
Do
Finley?
you remember Finley? He was like the little Irish guy.
Oh.
My name's Finley and I love to fight.
Or like, you know, the one remaining member of Legion of Doom.
Yeah.
Like,
He got paid $2.1 million to have a match.
Okay.
so he was paid $2.1 million to have a match.
In Saudi
Well, I
Arabia.
reckon he's felt a little. I reckon it's one of them where maybe he's met the executives after and been like, he's felt a bit guilty and gone, that's taking the piss. Like, if I can ever do anything,
Let
me know.
Or did he wine and dine them when he was there and he put this to them and go, I'd love to, I know you got the soccer coming out, I'd love to get involved in that somehow.
Yeah.
And then
If
his
there's anything-
agents worked
yeah.
on it behind
If
the
there's
scenes.
anything
else
ever do.
going, yeah, let me know. For a fee, of course. I reckon he's been paid.
I'd love to have been a part of that board meeting to find out how they arrived at.
But I'll tell you what, mate, it's a fucking brilliant idea though, isn't it? Because you're talking about it on a podcast here. Imagine all the other different podcasts that are talking about it, getting some interest in the Saudi Soccer League, which, if we're going to be honest, has flopped. It's flopped this year, even though they got Ronaldo and Gerrard over there coaching and Jordan Henderson, all these different players going
Henderson's
over.
back.
Oh, he came back, did he?
Yeah.
Okay. But they got all these big names to go over there. And what have we spoken about it? Nothing. It's really cut through, like it hasn't cut through at all.
Not to you, maybe.
No,
Like,
but to football fans alike as well. It's just, there's so much better
In your
football
world.
leagues going. Well, it's not
they've
just my world. I'm just talking.
They've got to start somewhere.
Well, what I'm saying is, it hasn't gone as well as they probably thought it would. The amount of money they put into
These
it.
are lost leaders. They're planning for the future.
Yeah, but like I think it's been a bit of a flop
Well,
personally.
yeah, but at first, but these are why things are. So,
So it's flopping right now, and then the Undertaker going there is helping them maybe get some headlines, get some buzz about it.
Maybe this was the emergency board meeting. How are we going to turn this around?
The Undertaker. He's done it before in WWE. He'll do it again.
Yeah.
People thought he was dead at one point.
No.
He rose again.
One of my favourite childhood memories is when Kane first came onto the scene, and it was just like, oh my God, who is this man? Like, and then Paul Bearer explained the story, and I was like, oh my God, Undertaker set him on fire as a kid. Fucking hell, this is nuts.
Are they real brothers in real lives as well?
No.
Oh,
Are you?
Mate, I thought they were.
Sorry.
No.
Are you mental?
I thought they were brothers. My whole life I
Mate, the
thought they were
Undertaker's
brothers.
changed. No, the Undertaker stayed the same. I think Kane has changed.
Yeah, Kane had the other one with the half mask or something, didn't he? Or the
'cause
mask.
he had
that wore?
long
I forgot
hair
that
at first.
name.
I think he was.
No, but I think they're brothers, aren't they, in real life?
No, they're not. I'm not. No. You know, Kane. I think Kane was a previous wrestler under the name of like Charlie White, for instance, like, you know, just one of those bog standard, and they're like, no, we need a character, like whoever
Frankenstein sort of esque, isn't
whoever. But I've not watched wrestling recently. I don't plan on watching wrestling, but the Attitude Era of the early 2000s will always have a very special place in my heart for the creators of, you know, D-Generation X.
Oh, that was my favorite. Yeah, and everyone's doing this.
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar, was he? Did you like him? Was that a bit before that?
That was a bit later. Yeah, the era I'm talking about was a bit before that.
The Hardy Brothers. Was that era as well? Carlito? Did you like Carlito?
No, it was a bit after. Obviously, we're
showing
our age.
If we're talking wrestling, I had a couple of years where I really liked it. My favourite storyline was when Kurt Angle lost his gold medal to Eugene. I don't know if you remember this. Like, Eugene was like this absolute battler, but they did this match and he somehow beat Kurt Angle. And then for like weeks, he had Kurt Angle's gold medal, and it was the best thing ever. It's like, how is Kurt Angle going to get his gold medal back? And they eventually had to fight some pay-per-view and he got it back. But it was nerve-wracking at the time. I felt shattered for Kurt Angle. Yeah. Because I really liked him. He was one of my favourites.
I can see why. There was another little group that The Rock was involved in that were... We are the nation of domination. NOD versus D-Generation X. That was epic. Yeah. And then Monday Night Wars with the WCW and NWO. Like, I can remember Sting. Oh my God, when Sting was battling NWO. It was like... You know, they had all the, you can watch it on YouTube. It still gives me goosebumps if I watch it now. They had all these like random Stings, like a load of people in the Sting mask coming to try and fight NWO. And I think Scott Hall punches one of them. And he does, all the other ones have like fell to the ground. They're all useless. And they're like, oh no, this is the real Sting. And Scott Hall's turning around like bragging. It's like, oh my God, it's Sting. Oh! And then he fucking clears the fucking decks and it's like, Sting. And he'd never turn. Oh, mate.
I hope people found this interesting as well, because we have
segued a little bit. We do have a tendency to do this, but I think it's all part of the show. It's all part of the fun.
But what I reckon we should start with is Joey Manu is going to leave the Roosters. It looks like he's going to go to rugby. The Roosters mail is that he's going to go to French rugby. There's still a bit of a toss-up between, is it Japan, is it French? I think the thought is it's going to be French rugby because it's a much harder competition, and I think part of the inspiration for Joey Manu is he really wants to go over there and challenge himself in that rugby union world, try and become an All Black, try and get to the top of the game. So
would he be able to play for the All Blacks playing in France?
I don't know how the eligibility works for that, but I think he can.
Yeah, this is a really interesting one because do you remember Jordan Rapana, who went to Japanese rugby, but basically said then he was coming back? So if Joey Manu goes and he goes on like an 8-month deal, he'll just come back to the Roosters. So it'd be interesting to see how that pans out if there's...
I don't know if he would just come.
So he's got to go for a couple of years.
I think he will be going for a couple of years because I don't think he wants to play centre at the Roosters anymore. That's what my understanding of it was, and really it's kind of a case of they sign James Tedesco. He's now locked in until I think the end of 2025. So he's got this year, next year to go.
Next year.
I think the thought is that he thinks maybe they might re-sign Tedesco. He can't get the promise that Tedesco will go, and he sees himself as a fullback, but he doesn't want to play for another rugby league team outside of the Roosters.
Well, I think that's fair enough. Like, and good on Joey Manu for having that that ambition, and B, that sense of loyalty as well. Because I guess most people's career path would go, well, I'll go and prove myself as a fullback to the highest bidder. You know, let the bidding begin.
And there was big money on offer. Dragons, I think, were willing to throw in a 5-year, $1.2 million a year offer to him.
Well, he attracts that figure because of what he's achieved in the game. And obviously, whenever he's played fullback, he's shown what he can do at international level for the Kiwis. You know, he's been arguably some of the best players in the international tournaments that we've seen at test match level. So obviously, he'd be a big loss, not just to the Roosters, but to the game itself, obviously coming into his prime years. The Roosters are a funny situation now, so take yourself back even 12 months, 2 years. 2 years ago, they had arguably three of the best fullbacks or potential fullbacks in the game, in Tedesco, Manu and Sualihi. They had three fullbacks feature at the Rugby League World Cup semi-finals. Like, only the Roosters can do that. And then they're going to, if Joey Manu goes long-term, obviously, Joseph Sualihi's going to Rugby Australia at the end of this season. they could find themselves at the end of 25 with, from going from 3 to 0. And obviously James Tedesco is I still think he was top drawer last year. He didn't do the spectacular things that we've become accustomed to him every single time he touched the ball, but I still think he was one of the Roosters' best players week in, week out. So interesting position for the Roosters. I think probably what it speaks to is, we had a little chat off the air about the situation that they're in at the moment.
Yeah, it's probably this year is probably now the premiership window could be shutting after this year. When you think about the players that they're losing, you've also got to consider Jared Warrior-Hargraves. This is likely his last year. Daniel Tupu's getting older as well, another one of the outside backs. You've got Angus Crichton.
He actually faces a battle to
keep his spot this year.
Keep his spot this year.
Yeah.
So.
And I wonder, though, on that, if because Manu and Suoli'i are leaving, they've got to try and get as much footy into Billy Smith as possible.
Yeah.
So whether
he's a good player, though.
He's a great player, Billy Smith, but I wonder if that means that Tupu might miss out because they've got to turn Billy Smith into one of the best centres in the game, which maybe he's capable of becoming. They've re-signed him long term. They believe in him.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously he's faced a lot of adversity. Really enjoy watching him play. He's a goer. He's got plenty of skill. I was, in conversation with you, looking at, Kiri's re-signed for
another next year. So same as Tedesco, he's off at the end of 2025.
Whether or not those two will continue on after that. But if there's one thing for sure about the Roosters is they're not going to sit idle in the transfer market. They've already, if you look at, they've been decimated by injuries in 2020, 21. They don't sit idle. Look what they've brought in: Spencer Leniu, Dominic Young, and I think even thinking about those players transitioning out of their football career, like Tedesco, like Luke Keary, at the end of 2025, it remains to be seen whether they will go again. But then Sam Walker by then he's on the track to becoming one of the competition's premier halves, and I guess we'll see where that career goes. But the Sam Walker of today is very different to the Sam Walker that we're going to see in 2 years' time.
Yeah, exactly.
So, they've got some really good young quality players there at the moment anyway. So I guess we'll see how they continue to go on. Jared will be a big loss, but they've got Spencer Leniu in, Lindsay Collins still there. So they're not
Terrell May's still in their team. They might be able to re-sign him now that Manu's leaving as well. Frees up a bit more money to keep players like that.
And it looks as if Crichton might be on his way to rugby.
Yeah, looks like that way, yeah.
So,
do you know, just on the reshuffle though, you can't underestimate the Roosters' ability to find a player they want and go out and get them.
Yeah,
they're the best in the game at doing that, at identifying a player they want and getting them into their club.
Yeah, so, and there'll be players out there playing now that will be, stars of the game in 2 years' time that we either don't know about or will have breakout years, and the Roosters will be monitoring that like nobody else. So.
And also the talk about the sombrero with the Roosters, everyone takes the piss because they can just go and get whoever they want. It's so much more than that though. I think if you want to find out a bit more about it, we had Mark Burris on, who's on the Sydney Roosters board. Basically, when we started the podcast ages and ages ago, but he spoke about the way they recruit them, and at the Roosters, it's the access to the quality of businessmen that you get. Doors open to you by playing there that can just set you up for life post footy with the connections they have.
Yeah, that certainly seems one of the major attractions. And there's more to. Well, we talk a lot about environments, like what sort of environment you go into. That's anything from the setup of the academy or the training ground, the setup of the standards, what's acceptable, the facility, the other people in the room, but then that's it at things like board level. The location of a club can be an attraction or a detraction. So
going to play for Bondi Night Club over playing for Canberra, there's a big difference there.
Yeah, of course there is. Yeah. And obviously Canberra have got things that they tap into to say, look, this is why we're successful here. Is it about living by the beach or doing what's best for your football? And some people might choose Canberra over Bondi. You don't know, but
Beach Road or Mooseheads. What do you prefer?
You can see. Well, some people. You can see the attraction as to why, playing at Bondi or living in Bondi is a massive draw card.
It is
especially for those top end players.
Yeah. Who've got the money to? Yeah. It doesn't really matter where they live. Yeah. The thing about the Roosters, we've kind of spoken about it, but you got three quarters of their spine is basically off contract at the end of next season. You got Brandon Smith's off contract. You got Tedesco and Luke Keary all off contract. Like, it's a big rebuild. I think this year, with all the other players leaving, they have to win this year. Otherwise, the window closes and it's a big rebuild for the Roosters.
Yeah, I don't know about a big rebuild. I think you're correct in saying that Trent Robinson will sense that this is perhaps a bigger opportunity than what's ahead. And no doubt he'll tap into the emotions of the playing group if and when Jared announces his retirement. Yeah, I think we're going to see a different level from Roosters, and that could be the catalyst for them going all the way to the Premiership. I think sometimes when people have got a finish line, people will go above and beyond, and that for me is probably where it's going to go.
And their pack's probably the best pack in the comp this year.
Collins, Smith, Hargreaves, Lenu off the bench,
Sia Wong, Tupanua, Angus Crichton, Victor Radley. And there's so many good the Butcher brothers. Didn't even mention the Butcher brothers there. Terrell May, another one. Sia Wong's a freak. Yeah, but they're not all going to make it. That's the depth there. You've got guys who would just be walk-up starters in most teams that aren't going to be playing for the Roosters every week. It's insane the depth they've got.
Was good last year when he come onto the scene.
And we've forgotten about Tupanua though. No one's talking about Tupanua anymore, but he was an absolute gun. Just did his ACL obviously, but he's got the ability to be one of the best back rowers in the game.
Their forward pack on paper is phenomenal. You've got a good balance of, they've got different strike weapons within that pack as well.
Well, let's move on to the trials then, because a team that seems to do well every single year in the preseason is the Manly Seagulls.
Yeah, they won it last year. They won the
preseason challenge.
Preseason challenge, yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations to them. I think they get a couple $100,000 for the club by winning that.
I still think that with a 17 team competition, obviously Penrith are out of it, but I think one of the incentives for winning the preseason challenges, you get to choose your bye.
Yeah, I love that idea.
Choose the week of the bye.
Great.
Not for obviously if they win this year's one, they're not going to choose 2024's bye schedule, but they should be able to choose 2025's, because obviously every team gets a bye.
Yeah.
Or at least be able to choose one of them.
Yeah.
I think that's a massive incentive. It's set, coaches will be more inclined to try and win because they can look at getting a competitive advantage. You look at the Tigers, for instance, this year, they get their first bye round one. Well, thanks. And you probably don't want it round 27 unless you're planning on making finals in position sort of 5 to 8. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a good point. Another thing on the draw I'd like to see the NRL do is I'd like to see the NRL schedule the first 16 rounds of the season, and then the last 9 rounds or 10 rounds, whatever you've got there left, just figure it out once you've got to that point so that you can create as many exciting matchups to end the year as possible. I think they lock the schedule in too far out. It's why couldn't you just have every team play each other once? Brilliant. And then the last 10 rounds of the year, you go, all right, this player's going to play, this team's going to play this. Let's map it out. So ideally on that last round, we have as many matchups as possible that could affect final seedings.
I don't dislike it, Charlie.
Yeah. The AFL does a rolling schedule, but they don't do it for who's playing who. They do it for scheduling the games to support the TV broadcasters.
Yeah.
But why do we have to have 27 rounds scheduled for us straight away?
Charlie, you know what? You're just like those Saudi executives. You're thinking outside the box.
Get me in the boardroom. But Manly Seagulls, incredible trial. Do you know what? I feel a little bit bad for Luke Brooks because if he ties his shoelaces up correctly, it's a headline. If he gets a try assist, it's like Luke Brooks training the house and he's dominating. If you saw the team that the South Sydney Rabbitohs put up for that game, Manly should have won by 70 points. It was not even a B team. It was like a C, D team for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. There was one guy playing who was 45 years old in their team. Yes, Luke Brooks had a great game, but just calm down. Don't put so much pressure on him.
Yeah, you know what, that's it. It's the pressure that now comes with that. I was probably trying to put more of a positive spin on it. It'll be great for Luke Brooks' confidence because, whenever I look back at his career, it's a stupid cliche, but when he's confident, he's playing well. When he's down in the dumps, he can or when he looks he's lacking belief and lacking confidence. He doesn't demand the ball enough. So be good for his confidence. But you're right. Like, looking the preseason challenge has changed things. So football fans everywhere, they can't wait to get their football. Like now, think back to like when I began playing, the trials weren't on TV.
Like, until recently. It's only like the last few years, wasn't it?
From recollection, I think it was only the Charity Shield. Now, obviously, that was televised because it's rich history between the two clubs and the event. But that was the only game that was televised. Like, I don't think anything else was. But now that they're pretty much all televised, we have 24-hour news cycle.
It's all about Supercoach, that as well. It's like players want to know which guy's on which side of the field, how the lineup's going to look, which side they're going to attack down.
You've got to feel sorry for Luke Brooks because now they've set the bar high. It's like they're going to need performances. But genuinely, I'm excited about how he'll go at Manly. It's good to see him in different colours. I think you speak about the pressure from the media. I think that there is still, like, think about how many headlines we've got to come before Vegas, and probably with Vegas as well, him playing there, the focus isn't going to be on him particularly.
And Manly tends to fly under the radar a little bit more than some other Sydney clubs as well.
Yes,
there's not the same pressure there. I think. Do you think he's probably 5'8" more of his better position than playing halfback?
Yeah, maybe. Give him less responsibility.
Like DCE will take care of navigating the team around, and Luke Brooks can. His running game's so good as well.
Yeah, I think we'll see a much improved Luke Brooks and a little bit more consistency as well, and it help that playing at a team that's finished with 2 wooden spoons. It's really difficult. He won't be in as many difficult situations at this Manly team, you're assuming, as opposed to what he was at the Tigers.
Massive news for Storm fans as well, because Ryan Pappenhausen is going to be playing the trial this weekend.
That's great news.
And he has apparently been training the house down.
Yeah, well, yeah. I look at one of the most exciting players in our game. I think you speak for the NRL community and the sports community when you saw him go down at Brisbane and you thought, oh, no. Like, no, if there's no. But obviously, it wasn't as bad as it was, but that was not. I think he came off the bench that day. But look, we think back to, I think it was 2020 or 21 when he was just lighting up the competition. Like, what a player. Big in for the Storm. If he can, if they can get that spine going of him at the back, Munster at 5'8", Hughes at 7, Grant at 9, like. Melbourne under the radar. It is, Charlie.
And Bellamy's last year.
Again, we speak in narrative.
Yeah.
Bellamy's last year. It's been the last year for however long. But
great shots of Bellamy actually at the trial. He was running the waters at the trial, at Storm's trial. Yeah, on the field with them running around.
Good on him.
Yeah, he loves it. That's probably all from the trial side of things. Obviously, it kicks off this weekend. You got the All-Stars Friday. That's why Brad Smith's not here. He's going to be up there playing, which is great. You got the Charity Shield. It feels like footy's back.
Yeah, it's exciting. You can sense the excitement. It's crazy that it's not crazy, but the main games in Vegas. That's round 1 or round 0. It's kicking off.
And I've got some news because I think Shane Flanagan listens to this podcast, because after we spoke about Jason Taumalolo not long ago and him getting stripped of the captaincy, he did reach out to Taumalolo's management to try and get Taumalolo to the Dragons for this year. Todd Payten's come out and he's basically said the reports are laughable, that they have any interest in getting rid of him after stripping him from the captaincy. But it is one of those stories that I think there's more to it than just he's lost the captaincy, nothing to see here.
Yeah, and obviously, the line, if that happened to me, the line would be, no, I'm very happy here and I want to stay. Now, that very well be true. But however, as soon as that story breaks, there's a lot of football clubs that will go, hey, should we just check on what's going on? Because we'd have him tomorrow. And you can understand why there'd be some calls to management. And you can understand why those clubs are probably not going to accept the first no. They're going to look and keep pursuing this and, see how Jason reacts and think, well, if it doesn't go well for him, if they want rid of him and he wants a fresh start, he will, people talk, players talk. Oh, we'll put an arm around him. He'll be our starting 13. He'll be playing 60 minutes. Like, that's probably the big one for me in terms of Jason Taumalolo. It's his game time. Like, and we saw Todd Payten get lambasted for not playing him long enough, and then whether or not something happened and there's a reaction, he plays him longer. But Jason Taumalolo needs to be on the field for 60 minutes to have an impact on the game. He's a minimum 60-minute player, because that's your frequency of carries. Your number of carries goes up, your number of involvements goes up, and he needs 60 minutes worth of action to have an impact on the game. Now, obviously, the Cowboys have some very good middle forwards, especially. So game time might be reduced, and that's where someone might come in and go, hey, and like we spoke about on the podcast, like, there'll be retention issues at the Cowboys in the next 12 to 24 months around keeping some of those younger players, and they'll have a difficult decision, a difficult balancing act to go, okay, do we go in, do we keep Jason, or do we potentially lose these 2 or 3 edge back rows, middle forwards? What's a solution to that? Well, let's get rid of one of our higher earners, or pay a portion of his salary, frees up salary cap space, then we put it into these younger players. And that happens at a lot of football clubs.
And I think probably they need to make that call sooner rather than later as well, because the last thing they want is for Jason Taumalolo to come out this year and look like he's aged significantly from where he was at last year. Because if he's on a rapid decline, I'm not saying he is on a rapid decline, but if he is in a rapid decline, it's going to be harder for them to get rid of him with the money he's on. The amount they're going to have to chuck in keeps growing.
Yeah.
I almost think you could convince a club now to give him $850, and then you'd only have to chuck in, say, $150.
Yeah, maybe 8 to 8.
Yeah, around that. I think you could probably a team could talk themselves into Taumalolo. Like, the Dragons especially, they can't get a kill. They're not finding. Yeah. They're not able to make a big name signing at the moment.
Yeah, I think you're right, Charlie. I don't think this is going to go away, and the big point is how much he plays, because it was the dominant story of Todd Payten's debut year as a coach. He's Taumalolo. He got pretty frustrated, and rightly so, because he has to answer these questions every single week, and not everybody's tuning in every week to every single interview that he does. So
yeah,
it's a story that just won't go away, and Todd Payten has to concentrate on being a coach, and he's going to defend himself and Jason and just say, look, you're barking up the wrong tree. But if I'm a recruitment manager, if I'm a coach, and I need middle forwards, I'm looking at him.
Yeah. And we spoke about the Dragons just there, but Ben Hunt has come out and spoken about his Dragons contract standoff, and he's come out and said, in a way, I'm happy that some things came to a head, but it definitely could have been handled better, that's for sure. If I could take the time back, I would do it differently.
I think that's a strong message from Ben.
Yeah.
I really do, and he's right. I think sometimes you do need things to get to that really button heads and almost hit a low point to come back from and show the Dragons power brokers that he's serious. But and a bit of self-reflection there, saying, could I have done this differently? Yeah, absolutely. But I think he's now committed for this season and for next season. So it's a huge boost for Shane Flanagan, because we speak about Todd Payten and managing Jason Taumalolo. If Ben Hunt's future is not under a cloud, but a hot topic of debate for the media for the next 12 months, like, that's another distraction that a team don't need.
Last thing, because he is their best player. He needs to be their leader. If they got any chance of winning games this year, he has to have a career best year.
Well, I don't know about that. I think that he needs some help from people around him. I think if the Dragons are going to compete this season, it's going to come down to whoever's their fullback.
Which we're hearing that it might be a mixture of Tyrrell Sloan and Zach Lomax.
Yeah.
Them switching out from from wing. I think like Zach Lomax switching out from wing to fullback potentially.
Yeah, I don't mind that. It'll take some work, but I don't mind that. But I think whoever plays that fullback role has to have like a real breakout year and be, picking up 3 points for Dally M. Not that it's about that, but that sort of level of impact on the game, because I think you look at the spine players, the 1, 6, 7, 9. Like, well, Ben Hunt's going to dominate at 7. The 9 position, Jacob Little, who will do a good job, but likely isn't going to turn into this hugely attacking threat based off what we've seen. The 5'8", I think, will be Kyle Flanagan, who, again, based off what we've seen, has got room for improvement and room for potential. But I think the biggest room for potential improvement and astronomical improvement would be in the fullback role. With Tyrell Sloan, we've seen what he's capable of in small doses. If he can replicate that consistently and every single game, and a couple of those magic, because he's done some fantastic things in the football field where you sit back and you go, wow, like this kid's, moves, he glides across the ground, but is now the way the Dragons are going to play, put him in more of those positions. Can he take advantage of those positions? If he can shore up his defensive issues, which all fullbacks have, work on that. If he and or Lomax can, in and around that fullback position, go to another level, that's where the Dragons get success.
But that is the issue, isn't it? It's his defensive side. Attackingly, he's so quick and explosive and he can do incredible things, but defensively, he had a lot of moments last year where he wasn't at his best. Yeah,
well, that's where you put new systems in place to protect him. I've been part of teams where we've known that the fullback, is a target, and Sloan will be a target. So it's part of protecting him, but then also him going and doing the work on it. And he's, in my time, I can remember him being quite slight. And
you played with him? Was he at the team when you were there?
I didn't play, but I coached.
He was coming through there.
He was coming through, and you could always see. And in my role there, when I was working there, had a little bit of involvement with him. But I think he'll still look to bulk. He'll need to put a bit of size on, and that shouldn't affect his speed and his ability to sort of glide across the ground. But fundamentally, the Dragons, Ben Hunt, I agree, he needs to do exactly. But I don't know. Ben Hunt needs to keep doing what he's always done. But I don't know if Ben Hunt can improve anymore. Like, I think but you'd be stoked if you got the performances of Ben Hunt from 2023.
Yep.
Like, but he can't do much more than that.
Yeah.
But with the person at the back, I think can.
And you think it should be Sloan? At first, anyway. Give him first
probably
crack.
at first crack. Yeah.
Well, that's probably us done. But I will say this: we've got a very, very big show coming on Thursday. For anyone who's enjoyed the tour shows, it is the 03 Kangaroos tour, which I'm not going to say who it's with. Because you just never know if it's going to happen or not, but it should happen, and it is going to be a great one.
Yes, we're recording Wednesday.
So, stay tuned.
I don't think I'm going to have to say much.
You just say, hey, welcome to another edition of the Buy Round with me, your host James Graham.
Yeah,
good time for a Kangaroos tour special 2003 with my mates.
Yeah. So strap yourselves in for that one. All right, Charlie, it's been an absolute pleasure talking all things WWF from the early 90s and 2000s.
Absolutely. See you, Jimmy.
Right. Roll on the trials, roll on Vegas.